Red Dead Redemption 2 is a narrative masterpiece set in the twilight years of the American Wild West. At its heart is the Linde gang, a melting pot of outlaws, dreamers, and renegades. Among them is Hosea Matthews, a character whose untimely demise in the gang shapes much of its ensuing narrative and the downfall of the gang. This video delves into an alternative reality within the game's universe, exploring the potential impacts and ripple effects that could have occurred if Hosea had survived the entirety of RDR2. Join us as we find out if the gang would have been better off if Hosea had survived, or if his death really made no difference in the demise of the gang. If you enjoy videos like this one, be sure to subscribe, as 99% of viewers have not done so. Thank you for all of your support. Now let's delve into the possible outcome for Hosea and the gang if he had survived. To grasp the potential impact of Hosea's survival, it's crucial to first understand his pivotal role within the Linde gang. Hosea is not merely another outlaw, he serves as the gang's moral compass, a voice of reason in a world rapidly descending into chaos. His relationship with Dutch Vanderlinde, the charismatic leader of the gang, is central to the group's ethos. Hosea often acts as Dutch's anchor, preventing him from straying too far into the realms of radicalism and violence. In this hypothetical scenario, Hosea's continued existence could fundamentally alter the gang's course. Dutch's transformation from a Robin Hood-esque figure to a paranoid violent leader is a critical arc in RDR2. Hosea's death acts as a catalyst for this change. If Hosea had lived, his influence could significantly alter Dutch's trajectory. With Hosea's counsel, Dutch might have made decisions that steered the gang away from a path of self-destruction. This could include avoiding conflicts with rival gangs, adopting a more strategic approach to their heists, and perhaps even considering a more peaceful dissolution of the gang as the era of outlaws waned. Arthur Morgan, the game's protagonist, is profoundly influenced by Hosea. Hosea's survival would have had a significant impact on Arthur's personal journey. With Hosea's guidance, Arthur might have found a stronger moral footing earlier in the story. This could lead to different choices regarding his loyalty to Dutch, his approach to the gang's activities, and his own quest for redemption. Hosea's presence could have provided Arthur with a different perspective on the changing times and his place in the world. Hosea's wisdom and experience are crucial in managing the diverse personalities within the Linde gang. His survival might have prevented the fragmentation of the gang, as he often mediated conflicts and provided a sense of unity and purpose. With Hosea around, characters like John Marston, Sadie Adler, and Charles Smith could have put their wit together and found a different path within the gang, potentially leading to less violent and more level-headed and strategic approaches to their challenges. Several pivotal events in RDR2 could have played out differently with Hosea's involvement. For instance, the bank heist in Saint-Denis, which leads to Hosea's death in the original storyline, could have been approached with more caution or even avoided. Hosea's strategic mind might have foreseen the disastrous consequences of such a bold move. Similarly, the gang's involvement in the feud between the Greys and the Braithwaites might have been handled more diplomatically, avoiding the tragic outcomes that ensued. The game's climax, centered around a series of high-stakes heists, leads to the gang's ultimate downfall. Hosea's presence in these final chapters of the game could have led to a very different ending. His cautious nature and strategic thinking might have led the gang to either abandon these risky endeavors or approach them in a way that minimized risk and maximized reward. This could have resulted in a scenario where the gang disbands peacefully or finds a different path to their dream of freedom, perhaps even achieving Dutch's utopian vision in some form. In a world where Hosea survives, his legacy would be markedly different. Instead of being remembered as a wise but ultimately tragic figure, Hosea could have been the architect of a new path for the Linde gang. His survival could have meant the preservation of some semblance of the gang's original ideals, freedom, loyalty, and a resistance to the encroaching modern world. However, some players argue that things could have taken a darker turn if Hosea had survived, and that there's no guarantee he could have continued to hold the gang together. One key argument presented is that Dutch, throughout the game, often acted according to his own desires, disregarding the objections of others, including Hosea. For instance, there's a notable argument at Horseshoe Overlook where Dutch dismisses Hosea's concerns, indicating a growing rift between their ideologies.
Fine, I'm fine.
You ain't fine.
We'll all be in far worse trouble soon enough, unless you get your head straight, Dutch. Tell him, Arthur, tell him to wake up, and fast.
I'm trying, god damn it.
The thing is, Dutch, it isn't... Well, what's the plan? I mean, after Blackwater, we don't want any more deaths.
I ain't just some two-bit huckster, Hosea. I am willing to die for this, if that is what it takes, but right now, I need to be left alone by all the second-guessers.
As you wish, my friend. We keep heading east, is that the plan?
For now.
And when do we stop? When we reach Paris?
Well, that'd be nice. Join the commune. We stop when we find someplace sensible, shake them that's following us, and lie low.
This is lying low? We turned into a bunch of killers, I mean it. We ain't even got the delusion of being anything but a bunch of killers.
We are just trying to survive, Hosea. We don't have a choice. This'll end soon.
Damn right it will.
Constipated as usual.
This perspective strengthens the argument that Hosea's survival might not have significantly altered the gang's fate. Dutch's tendency to act in self-interest, often at the expense of the game's well-being, indicates that the internal strife and eventual downfall of the Van der Linde gang were perhaps inevitable, with or without Hosea's presence. This is further exemplified in Dutch's decision to kill Angelo Bronte, a move that Hosea opposed and which ultimately led to Hosea's death in the game's narrative. There are also several instances where Dutch gaslights Hosea, similar to how he manipulates Arthur and John.
Before the tunnel.
Ain't a problem. Why are we doing this? Weather's breaking, we could leave. I thought we was lying low.
Yeah, come on. What do you want from me, Hosea?
I just don't want any more folks to die, Dutch.
We're living, Hosea, we're living. Look at me. We're living, even you. But we need money. Everything we has in Blackwater. You fancy heading back there?
No. Listen, Dutch, I ain't trying to undermine you. I just want to stick to the plan, which was to lie low, then head back out west. Now, suddenly we're about to rob a train.
What choice have we got?
Leviticus Cornwall's no joke, Dutch.
Who is Leviticus Cornwall?
He's a big railway magnate, sugar dealer, oil man.
Well, how good for him. Sounds like he has more than enough to share.
Dutch!
Gentlemen, it is time to make something of ourselves. Get your horses ready.
Despite Hosea's attempts to reason with Dutch, he is often met with responses that everything is under control and that he should not question Dutch's actions. Hosea and Dutch frequently argued, indicating a breakdown in their once strong partnership. Dutch's greed and mental decline had a powerful hold on him, overshadowing Hosea's influence. This pattern suggests that even if Hosea had survived, Dutch might have continued on his path of self-destruction, ignoring Hosea's counsel. In this alternate scenario, Hosea's possible continued presence and doubt could have exacerbated Dutch's paranoia and erratic behavior. If Hosea had openly opposed Dutch in Chapter 6 with the likes of Arthur, it might have driven Dutch to even more extreme actions, potentially leading to a more violent and tragic end for the gang. Also, an important thing to consider is that if Hosea had lived, it could have prompted other members to stay in the gang longer, perhaps even up to the end, leading to the death of more major and minor characters when the lawmen close in on the gang. Even if Dutch didn't take extreme actions, if Hosea had sided with Arthur in Chapter 6, it is still unlikely the gang could have survived. As at this time, Hosea shared the same worldview as Arthur, which is that the world had changed too much for people like them to survive the way they had been living. It is likely that if Hosea had survived, by Chapter 6, he would be helping the members that wanted to leave the gang do so, especially as Arthur grew sicker, and Micah gained more and more influence over Dutch. In conclusion, the hypothetical survival of Hosea Matthews in Red Dead Redemption 2 offers a thought-provoking exploration of the game's narrative possibilities. His presence could have profoundly altered the gang's dynamics, providing a more balanced counterpoint to Dutch's leadership. Nevertheless, the game's narrative is deeply rooted in the tragic fall of the Van der Linde gang, and Hosea's survival, while potentially altering some events, might not change the eventual outcome. His character exemplifies the moral complexities and harsh realities of the world depicted in RDR2, making his story, whether in survival or death, an integral and poignant part of the game's rich tapestry.